Alrighty. Okay, the meeting Water Commissioners is called to order Thursday, February 3rd, 2022 at 6 p.m. This meeting is being recorded. Chairman Ed Johnson present.
Commissioner John Kane present.
Dave Meswar present via remote.
DPW Director Randy Brown. Present. Christy Myatt, Office Manager.
Present.
And we have Kevin Soper, Water Department Chairman, or Foreman, present. Okay, any public comment? Anything, Christie?
I have nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing remote here.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Okay, seeing none, we'll continue with the meeting. John and Dave, have you reviewed the minutes of December 9th and January 6th meetings?
Yes, I reviewed them both. I make a motion to accept the December 9th minutes as written and the January 3rd minutes as written.
It's a 6th, Dave. It was, as a typo, it was January 6th.
I'm sorry, January 6th.
Can I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye. Dave Meswar, aye.
John Kane, aye.
Ed Johnson, aye. Okay, motion carried. Okay, there's some stuff here for you to sign, John. Yep, there's a elderly rate and just sign it. I want it back, please. Okay. Yeah, just the front page. That's it. Is there two there?
Yes.
Oh, I missed. Oh, okay. Yeah,
I'll sign it.
sign this. Yep. I didn't see the second one. Yeah. Yep. Okay, I gotta sign this one too. Okay, we have two elderly rate applications. They meet all the requirements. Marla J. Rennis, I guess, RENIUS, 3 Iron Horse Hill Road, and Dominic, I don't know how you spell, FARETRA, 33 Berkshire Avenue. They both meet all requirements. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the elderly rate applications.
Can I have a second?
Second, Dave Meswar, second.
Okay, all in favor?
John Kane, aye.
Dave Meswar, aye.
Johnson, aye. Hey, motion carried. You got the floor, Randy, DPW Director's report.
Okay, a few things to talk about today. First of all, the big news is Kevin Soper is transitioning into a new position within DPW. I think most of you know that Chris Ferrier left for greener pastures. So Kevin is going to step in as the DPW supervisor's role. He'll be official on next Monday, 7th. So Kevin's been around for quite a while. He knows the ins and outs of the department. He's not going far, so certainly he's going to leave a void behind him with the water department, but he's still going to be around to help with that transition.
Absolutely. Congratulations, Kev.
We talked about
Well
that.
deserved.
Yeah, so it's a good move for us, and so we're looking forward to the next steps. So per the contract, we will have to post that foreman position internally for 14 days.
Okay,
And then if there are no internal applicants, then it'll be posted externally.
okay.
So we'll keep you in the loop as far as how.
Yeah,
that
let me-
moves
yeah,
forward over the
okay.
next couple weeks.
Are there any qualified internal applicants?
I don't think so, but we have to go through the process, so.
Right.
Yeah, there are treatment for licenses that Kevin has that nobody else in
Yeah,
the
that's
department
what it
has, so, and they're required for the position. Next item is our water main project, the transmission main projects, to tie into sprinkle water sewers connection. So the contracts were signed. There were some emails back and forth the last couple of days, so things are ramping up on that end. Looks like we'll have a pre-construction meeting with the contractor in the next couple of weeks. And they're getting geared up to start sometime in probably middle of March. It's kind of what they're looking at right now, depending on weather, but that's
Nice.
kind of where they're aiming at, so.
Good.
And then they'll be done, hopefully by June 1st. Item 3, we talked a little bit about this at our last meeting. We got a letter from SDP about our 4th quarter hail acetic acid samples. This was the same issue we had for the third quarter samples, we're taking out the Jerry Drive pump station. It was above the operational evaluation level of 63 milligrams per liter. The max level was 60 milligrams. So we had to do what's called an operational evaluation reporting form. We did that, prepared that, sent it to the Mass DEP about a week ago. The issue is with Springfield water system. They've had some issues in the last couple of years that they're working towards in terms of the disinfection byproducts.
Okay,
Actually, my next item 4, I'll talk more about that. But
Okay.
there is a plan from Springfield to move forward on that. But in the meantime, these may pop up from time to time. You know,
Okay.
but we deal with them as we need to. You know, DEP is satisfied that, you know, we meet all criteria that we need to. So the reporting form is submitted, done, you know, it's behind us. So,
okay, good.
so then moving on to item 4, I talked a little bit about this. So I had a meeting with Springfield Water and Sewer on Monday about their long-term capital plans. It was myself and probably 10 other water systems and sewer systems on the meeting. So they talked about what they have upcoming in the next 5 to 10 years. And as we talked, I just mentioned, they are preparing a large-scale treatment process upgrade, basically revamping their whole treatment facilities on Provo Mountain.
Oh, okay.
And so it'll be a cost impact to the town because we are a user of that system. And so that was the primary focus of the discussion, was talking about the finances, and how that might impact the town of Southwick and all the other water users that are tied into their system. So right now they're in the preliminary design stages. Once they get through this, they'll start developing final plans and going through the permitting process with the Mass DEP, and that followed that by construction. So they don't think they'll be up and running until for 6 years,
Okay,
you know, with the new treatment plant.
okay,
So, but in the meantime, their rates will be going up as they pay for the design, permitting, and the construction over the next few years. So based on their current projections, the rate that they would pay to the town would be increased by about 50%, 50% over the next 5 years. So, which is a pretty significant increase. We draw, you know, our bill to Springfield is about $50,000 to $60,000 a year. So, you know, that you can see the impact of maybe $25,000 to $30,000. We're by far the smallest system that draws from Springfield.
oh, yeah, I'm sure we are.
You know, they supply water to all of Springfield, you know, but then so other communities like Agawam,
Long Meadow.
East Long Meadow, yeah, I mean, their bills at Springfield are, you know, $2 million a year. So add 50% on top of that, you know, it's a pretty big impact. So everyone's going to feel it. Springfield has been very proactive in getting grants wherever possible. So they are getting some money through state and federal dollars, but that's where they're at in the next, you know, 5 years. You know that?
And this is gonna be upgrade to the Provo Mountain system.
Provo Mountain.
Yes, yeah. So
Not
what
the
I
most
understand is
perishable.
they're taking their treatment system and moving it to Provo Mountain.
Okay,
So right
you're
now
gonna get rid of it.
they have a filtration system in Granville.
The filter beds there, yeah.
And I think they're keeping the filtration system.
Yeah.
All the treatment's gonna get moved to Provo Mountain.
So that means we'll have to start treating that Jerry Drive.
So we are gonna have to start adding chlorine because right now it is chlorinated. You know, we're not set up, well, we are set up. Jerry Drive is set up to add chlorine anytime
Right.
in anticipation of this transition.
So we're gonna have to start chlorinating when that happens.
So
And now we have a timeline-ish for the North Long Yard pump station. If we
Yeah,
do something
if
like
we
that
need to do
make sure
something.
it's
Yeah.
Ready
Exactly.
to
Yep.
take raw water.
Yep.
It'd be easier if we can treat it,
Yeah,
They have to
full
figure out
control
what's
of it
coming
as
in.
opposed to, right now, it's so wishy-washy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Never know. what you-
Obviously, it's gonna cost more, but,
Right,
because we'll have to treat it, and that's gonna,
right.
it's an expense on our part. but-
Right. So that's where Springfield's at with their system. Item 5, Mass DEP developed a sanitary survey. They sent that to us earlier this week. This is something they do every 3 years. They come in and look at our system, visit all the facilities, go through all of our records that we have. And then they provide a recommendation, a list of things that we need to follow up on. So we'll talk more about this in new business, but the report itself is in your packet, so we'll get there soon. Item 6 is a couple things that, well, the next couple items are ones that carry over from the last few years, last few months. Item 6 is our water needs forecast study through Mass DEP and DCR. I haven't seen any action on this in the past month since the last meeting, but my last discussion with them was that they were working on it. So I'll pass it along to you. Well, I'll give you some updates on that when that does come to fruition. Number 7 is 55 Sam West Road. This is the issue. We had a meter that was tampered with and missing. So there are still some items that owner has to take care of before we can reestablish service to that property. That has not yet happened. And item 8 is Emil from Sigma has continues to do his backflow inspections. Usually he ramps that up in the springtime. He'll do his full-blown inspections and then he'll continue that throughout the year. And the last item here is on your next page. We have to develop a little blurb about the water department for the annual town report. So that's on the next page. If you want to take a look at that, if you have any comments or questions, we can make that change. But basically, we just summarize the water department itself. I talked about the projects we worked on in the past year and the projects that we're looking at towards the next year and beyond. That's all I have.
Yeah, that looks good. Okay. Work order summary, that's water shut off, installations, frozen services. A few frozen pipes, huh?
Yeah, we had a few water services that froze.
Not as many as I expected.
Huh.
To be honest with you, it was cold.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So,
Yep, miscellaneous service valves for repair. Appointments, none. Okay. Old business, open meeting law training.
This was just kind of a reminder. I think all of you took the training. I hope you all took the
I
training
did,
class the last
yeah.
couple of weeks. I know that was information
No, I
sent
missed
to
it.
you.
I have to redo it.
Okay, so that's just more of a reminder, I guess. If you didn't take it, make sure you look into that. So something we're gonna go through every couple of years.
Okay. 2023 budget.
So if you look in the packet, it's got a lot of numbers on the spreadsheets. This is the proposed budget I have for you. So if you look on the first page here, which has got the blue, the gray shading on the right-hand side, this lists all of the line items in our water budget. And the way that I was asked to prepare this was there's 3 columns I was asked to fill out. One is a 5% decrease to our current FY22 budget. The second one is a level funded budget. And the third item is a request by the department. So if you look at the request by the department, that's what I was going to suggest we put in for a budget. There's not a whole lot of changes from last year. The only item that I really looked at changing was City of Springfield is kind of like halfway, about maybe 2/3 of the way down.
Yep.
On the first page, just increasing that line item a little bit. This is basically the water we pay to Springfield Water and Sewer.
Up to the 55,000, yeah.
Up it a little bit.
Yep.
You know, we are using more of that water, so I think it makes sense. I did do a projection on that, so I hope that'll capture that fee for the year.
Okay,
Everything else on here
pretty much.
was the same. There are some line items that we don't have control over that are done by accounting, so I did not fill those in,
Right.
and I noted that on the sheet here.
Yep.
But you can see all the items, all the operations items are filled in on the first page. Any questions or comments on
They're
that?
pretty self-explanatory.
And then on the next page, the very top lists all the capital items,
Right.
all the capital requests. So the only new capital request I'm looking at this year is for leak detection. So we have to do a leak detection survey every 3 years, or
Right.
every 3 years, yes.
Right.
So this will be our 3 years for that,
Okay.
for that project.
Yeah. And 3 years already, huh? Wow.
Yeah,
How do you guys do that leak detection survey?
so we have hired a private contractor in the past. And
They come in and do it.
They
Yeah.
come in and do it, yeah. So that cost was $10,000, and then we have 3 other line items that are been carried over as the last couple of years: hydrant replacements, SCADA improvements, and it's called improvements or security improvements. So those last 3 items, those are ones that we've used every year. And then we looking at those as well. And then if you look on the next page, I know the way the sheets are set up, it's kind of a little funky, but it's called Form 2, New Request. So on the very bottom, I do have one more capital item. It's not shown on the sheet because there's no previous year line item for it. But the last item here is Water Management Act Permit Assistance for $15,000. So you know we're going through our permit, our withdrawal, or our permit renewal for Mass DEP. I'm hoping to do most of Mark myself, but I might want to rely on, I might need some help from a consultant just to help me do some of the tasks and
Okay,
make sure we're getting, we're getting fair treatment from DEP, you know. This is our time first doing it, but I can hire consultants.
That's understandable. Yeah.
They've been through it. So they kind of know the ins and outs maybe a little better than I have, so.
Yeah, and the easier the paperwork is for them to go through when they get it, the more likely they are to work with us.
Yeah, and I've been talking to DEP, you know, I have a good relationship with them, but I think having someone on our side help me through that process would be very helpful, so.
absolutely.
I'm looking for a little bit of money for that. And that's really all, that's all the new stuff. If you look at the following pages, you know, Form 3, you know, new staffing, that doesn't apply.
Right,
Form 4 operations, you know, we don't have any new operation items, that doesn't apply. And then Form 5 is like the long-term projection. So we're adding the capital items we already talked about at the very top of this page. And then if I look forward the next couple of years, what are we looking at? And, you know, we have hydrants, improvements, SCADA improvements, safety, water main replacements, and water tank inspections on those lists. So that's kind of like what we're looking at for the next few years. That was the last page of the book.
okay.
Do you have any questions or comments on that?
Pretty straightforward, I guess. I
I think it's pretty similar. Like I said, it's
Not
not
change.
much
Right.
different than last year's budget. A couple of changes, but other than that, it is the same budget as last year.
Okay, well, business, water moratorium.
So I do want to make one more thing, Ed, if you don't
Yep,
mind.
yep.
So looking ahead, I think, John, you had talked about like a long-term capital plan, right?
Yeah,
So I did have, I debated putting some capital, another project on here for this year, like a water main replacement. Or maybe the well upgrade, the North Orleans pump up upgrades. I think it's best to hold up on that for a year. We do have some time from Springfield. I learned that this week, so that's good. And I'm also a little, I did get a note from the auditor a couple days ago. They're a little worried about our finances in terms of how much money we've had in retained earnings, and that number's been dropping.
Mhm.
So I did remind them that we did have a rate increase that went into effect in October, so that hasn't been realized yet. So
Right.
that, I think that will help. But I'm waiting for more information from the auditor before I look at those numbers a little more closely, but I'll present that to you.
Okay,
If we need to maybe adjust rates, I'm hoping not, but the
Okay.
auditor is concerned about that. and
Okay.
Raise a flag, so. Like I said, we got the rate increase in October, they haven't realized that yet, but we're just gonna look at that.
okay.
So
yeah,
I think for this year, I wanna just kind of stay where we're at. We're gonna get this dry pump station up and running, we'll see what we need, what we get from flows, and
Yep.
then we'll go from there. So I think that's.
That's all we can do.
and I think we have until 2024 to allocate any ARPA money, so there's plenty of time
Yeah,
that we're not to worry about.
Yep.
Running out.
all right, so that's good, appreciate that.
Okay, water moratorium.
Not really, just keep it on there for old business, that's still,
Okay.
in
Right.
effect.
Right, I
Talked
saw the
about-
minutes.
We
from
talked
last
about
week.
revisiting that once that water main project.
Right, once that gets something, yeah, then we should be in good shape, I think. You agree, Gav? Once that project gets done, we should be in pretty good shape.
I hope so.
Yeah,
Once that
yeah, so I mean, yeah,
Yeah, once we know how
could
much
be
water,
determined,
yeah, right.
once we know how much water we can get from that.
This-
Something, yeah,
on paper it's supposed to, but
supposed to, yeah, right. Well, you know, paperwork is, right, yeah. Okay, fire line connection fees.
So we talked about this at our last meeting. I think, John, you brought this up about connection fees for fire services in particular. So Christie went through and got to develop this spreadsheet here. She looked at like 6 or 7 other communities and see what they had for fees. Some have application fees, some have connection fees, some have annual cost fees, and some have none. So right now we have none of any of those for fire services. And from this here, you can see what the policies are for these 7 communities. Christie does have all the actual policy themselves, if you want to take a look at them. This page here summarizes those. So it seems like they're all over the place. There's not really a standard out there where it seems like everyone follows the same pattern or policy. So, this is, we don't have to act on this tonight, if we can, but we can take a look at it, digest it a little bit, and then maybe regroup at the next meeting if you'd like to, but, I don't know what your thoughts are, if you would like to see an extra fee for a fire service or not, or have an annual fee or a connection fee.
I think a connection fee, if anything. I mean, I don't see a reason for an annual fee because it's really just sitting there, but I think a connection fee, just like any other connection, because you are impacting the water system to an extent,
Mhm.
I don't really know what it should be. I like just something to take care of having to do all that paperwork and send the guys out and check it and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So I think
That's a
something
good idea.
relatively, fair, but something that makes it
Just
worth
to
it.
cover our cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So some of these connection fees, they may be a little misleading, so I think some of these
include the
communities,
taps.
they do the work themselves, like
Yeah.
that, the community, the water department does the tap, they play the pipe. Like Agawam, for example, $7,000, that probably includes the cost of the work.
No,
does it?
tap right to the valve and that's it. And you buy the valve.
You buy, okay, so.
Yeah.
So they're all over the place, I guess, so.
And then Springfield, all of them are up, they give you the valve basically. And then you can, if they do the tap, they're gonna put the valve on and let you go off the valve.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Springfield will come in, they'll tap you have to supply all the parts though. They'll do
The tap.
themselves, and then from there you lay your pipe into the building.
Oh, okay.
So just for reference, we charge $1,200 for a new water service and I get a connection fee for a new, single family
Right,
house. water
1,200,
service.
yeah, right. Okay.
So John, would you like to look at this, or I can maybe look at this and maybe come up with a proposal and maybe.
Yeah, I
like
think
an
something that makes
application?
sense to you, because you guys are the ones that have to do it,
Okay.
So some
Yeah,
of
you
that
guys work up a figure.
covers your time, and I think even put in there, even for the other stuff, give them 2 inspections, say, or 2 or whatever you want it to be, whatever you normally would have to do. And if you need more inspections, then you have to pay for it. That's what Springfield does.
Okay.
When you apply, they'll give you, okay, we'll come out, we'll give you 2 inspections so that you can get the tap done and then you can lay the pipe or whatever it might be. And if they come out a third time, if you're not ready for them, they're gonna charge you to another $175.
Oh, really? Okay,
I see.
okay. That makes sense.
I guess.
And I mean, and contractors are used to, they're willing to pay for people's time to come out. And even builders or homeowners or whatever, they know that, it's not free to have.
They know
these
it up
guys
front,
from
yeah.
The water department coming out.
It depends on how many feet they're laying down too.
But yeah, so if you're laying,
Yeah.
a few hundred feet, like we, through all these different bends and stuff, if you gotta have someone come out every day to look at it, that's gotta be covered.
Oh, of course it does.
Especially when we're talking about, we're raising rates and stuff, but we need to put some of that money on
Yeah.
the new construction too. I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
So
good.
what I'll do is, we'll put something on paper for next meeting. You guys have a
Sounds
look at
good.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, new business, sanitary survey.
So the last, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 pages, maybe more than that, is a copy of the sanitary survey from SCP. So we got this early this week. So we don't need to go through the whole report, but I will go through the kind of like the action items that they identified in the report. And I think if you look on the very first page, the very bottom, all the action items are in bold. So
Okay.
that kind of, we'll just go to that. So the very bottom one is, well, first of all, the sanitary was a good survey. There was nothing like, no glaring issues with the system. A lot of these things that you have to address are, paperwork and some personnel type issues. So overall, it's a good report. But I'll go through each item and we'll talk about it in more detail if you like. So the first item here is they're looking for us to develop an asset management plan. So it's a formal asset management plan with written estimates for the useful life and replacement costs of all assets within the infrastructure. And that should be done by December 31st, 2022. But we don't have an asset management plan on paper like they're looking for. We have a list of all of our parts and materials kind of like here and there, but nothing like one document where it all puts it all together. So this is looking for.
Okay,
So that's something I'll be working on with Kevin and the new water foreman over the next few months and developing an asset management plan. The next item is they're looking for, it's the very top of the next page, South update the existing CIP, so capital improvement plan with current 5, 10, and 20-year priorities. So we do have older plans that we showed Mass DEP, but they were 5, 6, 7 years old. So at this point, they're looking for us to update those with more formal plans. So that kind of ties into our discussion we had, John, about the long-term plans as well. So DEP is looking for that report by December 31st, 2022. So again, we'll be working on that plan and we can get your input on that before we submit to Mass DEP. The third item, just below that, is they're looking for emergency contact numbers posted at the water tank building and submit the documentation by February 28th. I think Kevin's already done that. I just got to submit the documentation.
Yeah, I'll
to
take a
DEP,
picture of it and send it to
Take a
you.
picture, send it to DEP, and then they'll satisfy that requirement.
Okay.
The next item here is about staffing. So this is talking about weekday and weekends for treatment and distribution services. So we have, our system requires 2D, which is 2 distribution, and a 1T, so 1 treatment licenses to operate our system. So Kevin has both of those licenses. We have 2 other individuals. One of them has the 2D and a 1T in training. So the 1T is not a full treatment license, but it's in training. And the other individual has just the D1 in training. Is that right, Kevin?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so the distribution 1 in training license. So the process to get the in training to a full license is not complicated. We've been asking them to get their license, the full license for a while. It's just a paperwork thing they got to do.
Okay.
So DEP is saying that because those individuals are not full treatment licenses, they may not be qualified to do that 1-hour inspection that's required on the weekends. So they're asking us to provide logs of who worked what weekends over the past year, 2021, and how we're going to address that moving forward. So I talked to Kevin. We have a plan in place to address that. Even with individuals that aren't have the full treatment license right now, Kevin's he still has his license and he's gonna help fill in that role.
Okay, great.
Even though he's with his new position,
Right.
he's still gonna help out.
That's
in
great.
that sense. So,
Yeah, I'll have to be still listed as a primary treatment until someone gets,
yeah, and hopefully
Full.
this is
Oh,
temporary
okay.
until we get a foreman in place.
that
So,
requires 1 hour a day, which
Oh,
I can cover.
yeah,
Okay,
so
great.
we talked about
Thanks,
how we
Jeff.
can address that, yeah.
appreciate it.
And then, so that's that first big bullet item. And then the second one talks about the staffing plan. So it kind of ties into the first bullet, but setting the documentation DEP, who the operators are. So that's they want that updated by March 31st, 2022. So that kind of ties in with the personnel issues we're talking about.
Right.
Let's see, at the very bottom of this page, this isn't really an action item, but this said it'll be addressed under separate correspondence regarding a water management act permit. This is in 2020, we had a very high water use, as you know, COVID hit and water was through the use. So they noted that,
Yeah, don't we know?
our residential gallons per capita day was 90 gallons per person. And, their goal is 65 gallons per person.
Right.
So there was obviously a spike in water use, but so DEP said that we'll address that through your next water withdrawal permit. Cool. And the last item here on the following page, at the very top here, they're looking for some safety measures put on our well motor shafts. And they're looking for that to be done by April 30th, 2022.
How many pumps need guarding?
Let's see,
Yeah.
it was one of them. And I don't know which pump that was, Kevin, do you know?
Well, number 2,
Well,
Yeah.
Well, too.
space like that.
Yeah.
That's been there since it was,
Bill, yeah.
something to write,
So it's, we'll take care of that. That's not an
Yeah.
issue.
piece of cake.
So those are the issues. The following pages kind of maybe give a little more detail in terms of those action items we talked about. But it was really, this first 3 pages summarize the whole report. So you have that for your information if you'd like to take a look at it in more detail. But I said overall, it was a good report. There's nothing glaring out there. There's no issues. But just tying up some loose ends.
Good.
Now with that new withdrawal permit, are they gonna take into consideration all the added subdivisions and condo units and so on and so forth?
Yeah, so what to
That's a
do,
huge draw.
Oh, yeah.
no, it is,
Yeah.
and we had that discussion. So we got the new development at 42 Depot Street,
Right.
Mhm.
right? That's hasn't been yet started, the development.
Sawgrass.
Sawgrass and the greens. Yeah, I gave them information on all those developments that are already approved. Plus, Christie worked very hard on a list of properties that have not yet been developed, but could be developed, that are on our water system now. So they have a list of, I forget how many, there's a couple hundred, I think, or maybe 100 parcels that are buildable lots today. You know,
Okay.
all you do is build a house and you got a water line right for your house.
Oh, in addition to all the subdivisions.
In addition to
All
all
over.
that, yeah,
Oh,
and
okay.
then even the larger lots, I broke those out. I said, 5 acre plus, I said, this is potential for a larger lot.
So you're
I
on top
broke
of
it
it.
up by by zone, so it could be commercial use, could be residential use. So yeah, all that was submitted to DEP.
Okay.
And as we have these discussions, that's something I have harped, and I will continue to harp that, Southwick is a growing community. There's a lot of room for growth.
Yep.
So they need to take that into consideration when they're looking at our permit.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, especially if it takes years to get it renewed, updated or changed at all. Yeah, 10 years, Jesus, town could be.
Yeah, with the amount
Oh,
of more water.
yeah, so the way they look at it, so usually they do, our last permit was a 20-year permit, right? So
Yeah.
we had, whoever was in these seats 20 years ago or 25 years ago, they had to project 20 years out
Yeah.
for that permit. Now that we, I had a discussion with DCR, and they're gonna do our permit for 10 years.
Okay.
So a little bit little condenser, maybe help us in the long run.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Obviously, no one here knows what's gonna happen,
Especially now, 20 years, well,
Yeah.
who knows what's gonna,
right?
we're not even use water anymore.
Yeah, absolutely, right?
Okay. And John, you're gonna reschedule your training there for the
Yes.
open meeting. It's not that. It's-
Yeah, I talked to Michelle, she had gotten a hold of me about
Okay,
it.
good.
My daughter got sick and I was home and I was ready to do it, go on the meeting, and then I got pulled away, and
Oh, no,
an hour later, I'm like, oh.
yeah, it's pretty simple. Okay, is there anything come before the board? Seeing none, can I have a motion for adjournment? Give
Make a
it
motion to adjourn.
a second,
All in favor?
a second.
Oh, you second. All right, I'll second the motion to adjourn.
Okay, all in favor?
John Kane, aye.
Dave Meswar, aye.
Johnson, aye. Meeting is closed.